part out. Okay. Hi, Josh. Thank you for coming in. We will get right into it. And I want to start off with an introduction about yourself, your life experience, particularly focusing on ages 0 to 12.
Okay, 47-year-old male, American, sometimes sadly. And I would say that my life experience from 0 to 12 would be a 9 out of 10 on our ACEs scale. So I grew up in a household with two mothers. Um, and so it was non-traditional high school, yet household, yet in the in a mix of inner city Detroit as well as suburban Michigan. Um, so we actually kind of moved into houses, refurbished them, and then kind of moved on to the next. So that put me in a mixture of urban areas and also sometimes suburban areas, depending on where the house was that we were rehabbing. But this also put me in a situation where uh, there was not a lot of stability in my youth. Um, so additionally, from 0 to 12, from my earliest memories of my mother, there was definitely emotional abuse in the household of myself and her partners, as well as starting at about the school age of preschool, which might have been 6, 7-ish, physical abuse. Um, and then in what we would call third grade here in America, which is I think about 9, sexual abuse from a babysitter. Because I was again moving on to like ACEs like 4 and 5, physical and emotional neglect. Um, they were working a lot, my mother and her partner, so I was left alone with this babysitter. Uh, there were also times when we didn't have a lot of food in the house because we were really struggling from check to check or project to project. Um, and there were also times when there wasn't time for parents to be in the house because they were busy working, struggling check to check, trying to make ends meet in this kind of idea of being your own boss in real estate. So, um, and then kind of moving down, my mother was also, I witnessed a lot of violence between her and her partner um, within the house. Um, and my mother was also diagnosed with bipolar um, depression, major bipolar and anxiety depressive issues. Um, I would say that that mental health issue exacerbated the abuse between her and her partners, and also exacerbated some of the abuse of myself. And I was actually a planned child, so when you're kind of going down the list of ACEs, one of its separation, well, there was always separation. And then with her partners, there was never really a stable partner in the house until after the age of 12. So during that time period, I would definitely fit into that category of no real stable parental figure. Um, and, even though many years ago LGBTQ marriage wasn't allowable, it still functioned as a divorce, not having the two parents in the household, not being able to, only seeing my dad when I would go to Seattle at a young age. Um, and technically that leaves me at a 9 out of 10 because the last ace is an incarcerated household member. And that was the only thing I didn't experience between the ages of 0 and 12.
Okay. Thank you, Josh, for sharing that information. We're going to go into the next question. And the next question is, what kind of behaviors did you display at school that you now recognize were connected to what you were experiencing at home?
From a young age, I thought I was just the class clown, but kind of acting out and being disruptive in school, as well as on the bus to school. Was a way for me to direct attention back to the fact that things were wrong at home. Um, and giving a lot of grace to my teachers at the time. There weren't things like ACEs. These things weren't identified that many years ago. There weren't really a lot of uh, uh, training for instructors and teachers to kind of know what to look for. So, but It would have been major for someone to actually notice that this isn't Josh just being disruptive. This isn't Josh just being um, uh, loud or boisterous. This is him pointing back to something that's going on in the household that's not stable, that's not well, and that he needs some help.
Okay. So I'm going to add a question in here. So particularly with children, since COVID, we are seeing a lot of behaviors in the classroom, not necessarily associated with any type of diagnosis. So I just want you to explain a little bit more about the behaviors that you exhibited at school. Was it calling out? Was it swearing? Was it physical? What kind of behaviors did you
Okay.
exhibit at school?
Um, for me, it was a lot of, at first, um, attention seeking behavior, being loud, swearing, things that would get the teachers, but also the students' attentions. And then when there wasn't validation, or there was from either students or staff, there wasn't validation, it would escalate to things, especially as I got a little bit older, um, into things that were violent, hitting, pushing, things like that. And I can acutely identify that the kindergarten, first grade, second grade is class clown, is loud, boisterous, calling out, being disruptive. After the sexual abuse in third grade, it is violent, it is hitting, it is uh, more mean or hurt people, hurt people. So as a child, the lashing out became more physical towards other kids and staff and whatnot. And like I said, again, those things weren't really immediately noticed as anything other than bad behavior that came with the knee-jerk reaction of some type of disciplinary action.
Okay. All right. Thank you. So then my next question is, how did your behavior differ at home versus at school? And what did you think those differences say about how you were coping? And the reason why I ask this question is often when us as educators are experiencing behaviors in the classroom, we are communicating with our parents and our families, and they're not seeing the same behaviors. Sometimes they are. So I want to get from you what that looked like for you at school, at home, and the differences.
Okay. For me, it's specific to point out that in a household where there is household violence and then also abuse to the myself, the child, um, at home I was very subdued or cowed because I'm in a situation where my abuser has control over me and everything around me. So therefore, I don't act out like I do at school. I don't have the liberty to do those things because uh, the punishment is harsh, quick, and swift, and doesn't result in anything. So the acting out doesn't change my home situation at home. So therefore, I'm quieter. I'm trying to avoid. I'm avoidant. I appear, as a child that doesn't have behavioral issues, um, because I'm afraid in my environment. I live in an environment of fear. At school, where I'm asking for help, that's why I'm acting out, because I'm asking for help through the acting out, hoping that there will be an intervention. So that means that, like, it's a stark night and day contrast.